USA.
USA. This is the wrong time to be saying USA, my friend.
Is what I want to be able to say with pride. Is what I want.
With pride.
Pride, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's what happens when
half the country is stupid.
At least 30% of the country's stupid.
Yeah. Too much stupid.
Too much stupid. But speaking of stupid, you know what is not stupid?
Anthony Mackie.
Anthony Mackie is not stupid. Anthony Mackie is, I think, a very underrated actor.
I think he's a good man.
Good man.
Daredevil's not stupid.
Are you catching up?
Yeah, I watched the first 2 episodes last night.
Wonderful. I'm excited.
Riveting stuff.
I'm very excited. I genuinely love Daredevil. I think it's one of my all-time great favorite shows.
That has to be from Affleck Daredevil to Netflix / Disney Daredevil. That has to be the most improved.
Like the biggest jump in quality?
Yes, for the on-screen depiction of a character.
I think I have to agree.
Yeah. Even if Fantastic Four is amazing, I would say
at least the cast was good.
Yes.
There were things to like in the OG Fantastic Four.
Correct.
Fan Four Stick was kind of ass.
Yeah, but it gave us Miles Teller.
It did give us Miles Teller. Well, I mean, he was there.
And Michael B. Jordan.
Michael B. Jordan, yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, there's still quite a bit there. But, yeah, I think as far as, like, going from one project to another.
Yeah.
Daredevil, I think so. And, I mean, Thano is doing the brave thing here, ladies and gentlemen. He's doing the unprecedented hopping in without seeing what came first.
I watched the first 2 episodes of the OG show.
You should have watched all 3 seasons.
I've seen too much time. I've seen Hawkeye and Echo. I don't feel that lost.
You need all the context of Daredevil versus Kingpin from seasons 1, 2, and 3.
I'm sure it would help, but I was sad when events happened.
Yes, I think it did a good job. I think I would really like to talk about that show when it wraps.
I would love that.
Because I am very excited, considering how the first 2 episodes went. I'm very excited to see if they can stick the landing on this new iteration of Maddie.
Was there another show we wanted to discuss that we haven't yet? Spider-Man?
Possibly. I'm not done with Spider-Man. I think I have like 2 more episodes.
Really?
I got really far. I just kind of fell off. There was something else, right, that we saw that we were like, we should talk about this, and I don't think we ever did.
A show.
Yeah. It was a show. But anyway, we're not here to talk about any of that. We're talking about Captain America, Brave New Burb.
Yeah. It's here. I'm gonna already say I don't hate this movie. I won't even say I dislike this movie. But like I think we've been in this space multiple times as a pod and just in our friendship. Where we see a movie and we're like, man, but this TV show we're watching is just so much more. It's just so much more interesting.
Yeah. I mean, listen, okay, here's the thing. So, Captain America, like, it's already starting off right off the bat on the back foot, right?
Right.
You are asking to essentially do the impossible, which is have an extremely polarized country.
Yeah.
Get behind not only a new Captain America, a black Captain America.
Yep.
Or a Captain America who happens to be black.
Correct.
Right? For all intents and purposes, I think it's smart to go with Sam Wilson.
Yes.
He's a guy who, in everything he's been in, I think people have liked him.
And this is where I don't think you've heard the Chuds complain as much about going with him, unless I'm wrong. And they have complained about going with him.
I see a lot of things where they're like, why didn't they just give it to Bucky?
Oh, because I honestly think the trajectory of the MCU characters, it makes the most sense for Sam to get the shield.
Oh, 1,000%. I mean, story-wise, like, it just makes sense. He is a guy he's been there for...
He was on his left.
He was on his left the whole time, right?
Yeah. Whereas Bucky was in this goddamn country to begin with.
Like, Bucky, I think, like, just from the optic standpoint, the amount of baggage that homie has.
A lot of baggage.
Like he doesn't, like, character wise too. He doesn't want that shit.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he feels like he doesn't deserve it, which is already, like, probably a good point in his column.
Yeah.
But, like, I think he also recognizes that, like, that is also severely problematic.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He said so as much in Captain, or in Falcon and Winter Soldier, right? That was like a big point of it, where he's like, "Nah, man, I've done too much wrong for this to be like."
Correct.
Yeah. So anyway, so kind of to start off here, let's kind of give a little bit of background into the production of this movie, because this is the last movie that is like severely been affected by
the vids.
Bob Paycheck. Yeah, because he was the last CEO who came in, and he was like, "We are going to pump them numbers up, baby."
So, real quick,
Yeah.
before we get into this context, I think we were hoping before this movie came out, especially after a hiatus-ish year of Marvel in 2024, I think we were hoping that this movie would break the curse. And Javi, in one word or less, does it break the curse?
Kind of.
I say no.
Kinda?
I say no.
Here's the thing. Define curse. Because curse, I say, is Thor: Love and Thunder.
Correct.
Right? Like a movie that I cannot in good faith sit down and watch again, because I'm like, it's not. And again, I think we've said this before to our millions of lovely fans. Just because I say that Thor: Love and Thunder is not particularly good, does not mean it's like a fully bad movie.
No.
Right? We are ranking these movies on MCU scale.
Yes.
Which is already severely skewed, because like a lot of the movies have been very good.
And in some way, shape, or form, they tend to get the job done.
Exactly. So like our expectations are way out there, right? This movie, I don't think reaches those lows that I felt in Thor. But it also, just like when you compare to like even Captain America 1, especially Winter Soldier, Civil War feels like cheating because it's basically Avengers like 2.5.
Correct.
Right? But like it's still a name brand Captain America film, right? It does feel lacking, but I still think there's a lot to enjoy. And if the rumors are to be believed, and this movie was essentially reshot entirely, like, it's good enough.
There you go. Exactly.
Right?
I do think it's fine in terms of quality, but for me, break the curse means does it help restore confidence in the brand? And I would say no.
Okay, that's fair.
But yes, now that's a good segue to get into the history of the production.
Yeah, so this movie was announced like way far 2020-ish?
Which is where it kind of like, I think I'm going to bring this multiple times. And I know COVID and Bob Paycheck had big influence on this.
Uh-huh.
But I think like a lot of these projects, had they just come out like 1 or 2 years earlier, would have hit differently.
I think that's kind of the problem, right? I think we went from a barrage of nonstop MCU, to essentially kind of drip feed in the last year.
Right. I mean, only one film,
only one movie.
Great fan service, but essentially also just like fan service.
A Deadpool, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Which again, like you said, like it's great fan service, and that's fine. But I feel like there was no progression. It still while it's very good, it's a very good Deadpool movie. It's not particularly like a great MCU movie, because there is none of that real connection, right?
Yeah.
Like the attempt is there, and it's happening, and we can see the gears and how they will connect to the other gears down the line.
Right.
But as far as like in the moment, like, yeah, it feels very disconnected. I do appreciate though that this movie at least feels very much set in the world of the MCU.
Yes.
Right? And I think the biggest the biggest drawback, and I do agree with this criticism, it is very strange that this Captain America movie feels more like a Hulk sequel
Than a Captain
than
America
a
film.
Captain America movie, right?
Yeah.
Which I get that criticism, and I don't disagree. If someone says I don't like this movie because of that, I'm like, I can see it. I get it, right? But I do think with what they had and the story they were trying to tell, I think they did a good enough job at connecting to what was there. And then hopefully, once, we reorganize and we actually, have the time to plan like movie by movie and not trying to set up like 10 things at once,
Yeah.
I'm hoping that, smooth sailing.
Yeah. If you're gonna make a movie with these pieces, then I suppose it was fine enough.
Yeah.
I kind of wish it wasn't with these pieces.
Yeah, I mean it's unfortunate because then again, like you feel like you're setting up Sam. I don't want to say setting him up to fail,
Yeah.
but you're starting a bit on like an okay note where you
Well,
would want it to be like a hell yeah note.
we haven't even mentioned the Falcon and the Winter Soldier of it all, like by name.
Gone.
I mean, you're starting it on two very mid notes, like this character. He's
I
got
guess.
well,
I mean, I like the show.
it's we've done our ranking, and I think it's definitely like bottom half
Is it?
of the Marvel TV. Yeah,
The Marvel TV? Yeah, I guess.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
fair. But anyway, it's been long enough. It's been a couple weeks since the movie came out, so let's kind of get into it.
yeah,
So we have our new Captain America. He has his own Falcon, new team of Sam and Joaquin.
good old Joaquin.
Our first bona fide Mexican hero. Is he confirmed Mexican? I
The
can't remember if he's fully like, hey, this is a Mexican guy.
America Chavez is space Mexican.
Does that count? Hey, chat, does that count?
I'd say he's Mexican.
Yeah. We have a new president, which
Yeah.
oh boy.
New look.
New look in the year of our Lord 2025, having a new president be brought up in media is
Here's the thing. I'm
uh-huh.
curious as to how this plot point will be brought up in Thunderbolts because he is Thunderbolt Ross.
Yes.
Right? And I also haven't seen the Incredible Hulk, so maybe
Oh.
maybe I'm missing something here as well. But I feel like if this movie was reshot to shit,
Mm-hmm.
I know he's the Red Hulk in the comics.
Yes.
I just feel like maybe you just could have made it a different character.
It's definitely a weird choice.
Yeah.
Right? And I think the reason why I think it feels even more weird is because Thunderbolt Ross, again, is primarily a Hulk villain.
Because we also haven't seen him on the big screen since
Ross?
Yeah.
Since 20. So we saw him in Black Widow, but canonically, that's like
yeah.
a long time ago.
Things that should have come out 1 or 2 years before they actually did.
Yeah, I think in the world of the MCU, we haven't actually seen him show up since Civil War.
Ancient history.
Yeah.
So much has gone down, real world and MCU world.
That's 2016, homie.
Yeah, that's a decade ago.
Yeah, but I think the reason why that decision to have him be, is he considered technically the main antagonist? Kinda.
Not main. I would say not main.
Because like I think the movie wants us to think that that Stearns, right? The movie wants us to think that Stearns is the primary antagonist, but like he's just kind of a nuisance in the background that's like pulling the strings.
Kind of like Zemo in Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
In Civil War.
Civil War, right? Where you have him in the background doing all these things. He's the one that's setting all the events in motion. Yeah. But like I never felt like he was a genuine threat. I think that's a flaw that I have in this movie. Like, yeah, he's smart, so what?
Right.
Right? So fucking smart that he didn't realize that Sam was gonna be a good guy and try to talk this down.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Very smart.
Yeah, I don't know. I do think that having a character be written as a genius is always a huge risk.
Yeah, because you got to be really smart.
And here's the problem: people who are writing things are genuinely pretty fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Like we might think, hey man, I'm so cool, I'm so smart, but I think deep down everybody's just a fucking monkey.
No man, if us English majors were smarter, we'd major in things that would make us smarter. Anyway,
You would not be writing movies.
no,
You'd be raking in the cash.
I'd be ripping off the poor.
Yeah, I do like how they do manage to bring in Sam into this in a more personal way, using Isaiah.
Yes, character-wise, I think this is where the movie hits. I
Yeah.
enjoy the characters individually and oftentimes in interaction.
Mm-hmm. I do think it's smart for them to bring in Isaiah Bradley in here. His story is important in the context of the relationship with Sam, what he means to like the legacy of Captain America.
Yes.
Right, for anyone who didn't watch Falcon and Bucky, basically he was a super soldier, and then he broke the rules the same way that Steve broke the rules. Right, he went to save his platoon, but because he's a homie, they locked him up.
Here's where the yes and of it all is gonna come up again and again. I'm glad that Isaiah Bradley is a character.
Uh-huh.
And the movie's not woke enough, which we'll get to later.
Oh yeah, that's a problem.
And back to timing. Like that show where we met Isaiah, feels like an eternity ago.
Yeah. That was a while ago.
Overall MCU structure, I just feel like I needed to have seen these characters again in perhaps a big team up movie in order to get some character growth. And I know that I know I've been beating this drum for a long time now, and I will continue to beat it. We still don't know who our main characters are in this whole MCU saga.
We have hints.
But it happened by now.
Right? Yeah.
In the first go of things. I know I'm talking about big picture.
And
I think it's affecting the small picture.
Speaking of that, one thing that I want to do at the end of our recording here is I want us to cast our Avengers lineup here. Because I think we haven't done that. We need to know who is our core Avengers, right? And we'll talk about it later. I do think the scene where Ross is giving the presentation on the beginning, Sam and Joaquin stop Sidewinder, who's one of the Serpent Society members, who again, the fuck does that mean? They never really explain.
Yeah.
I know in the comics they're a big group of snake themed villains who all have different abilities.
Right.
Here they're just dudes.
Yeah.
Which
I like Giancarlo Esposito's acting.
Yeah. You're not gonna do the Dan Murrow thing of Giancarlo Esposito.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
I don't know, man. I understand wanting to bring in Giancarlo because he's a good actor. He's right. Fucking great in everything he's in. Having him come in this role feels weird to me. I know there's always people who are well, he could still come back as Professor Xavier from a different universe. And I'm I feel yes, they could do that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be upset, but I do feel that diminishes him appearing as Professor X.
So here's what I can't remember. His character's dead, right?
No, he's alive.
Okay. I think he is actually the type of villain who we've seen in even other Captain America movies, who is ripe for coming back in small or bigger roles. Like Zemo or the guy at the beginning of Civil War who was right? I feel like you could bring this character back.
Yeah.
I don't need him to be Professor X right now.
No.
I would see that specific crossover as not fitting. Even though RDJ as Doctor Doom was a surprise, at least it's big character to big character.
Yeah.
This would just be strange.
Well, no, but the casting, that people were always saying him as Charles, right? Yes. And I think he even expressed himself wanting to play Charles. So I always thought it was interesting. You have this really good actor that people want, and he has said he wants to play this character.
Right.
Why fuck with it, right? Again, if they were to do it, whatever, I could think of worse choices.
Yeah.
But I do feel like that impact then is lessened by him essentially playing this like kind of like low tier villain, right?
Yeah.
I would not be opposed like if they do decide to give Sam a proper sequel, right, with his own villain, and they
Right.
bring him back. I would not be opposed to that.
No, neither would I.
I think it'd be good. But anyway, when they're talking about like the adamantium finally being in here, and they finally address the giant celestial in the room.
You know, we're nowhere near the first people to make this joke and observation,
Uh
and
huh.
it's still just as impactful every time.
I mean, who the
It's just
fuck?
impactful as a giant celestial.
Yeah.
Emerges.
I mean, okay, hear me out. The only thing is ridiculous about it
Yeah.
is the fact that they never talked about like what actual impact that had on Earth.
Mm,
Because like you had this giant thing like coming out of the Indian Ocean, right?
yeah.
Like, hey, that's gotta suck. So like it's there, and people like obviously gonna fight about it. I can't imagine any of the other projects being the one where you address this issue.
Right.
Right. This honestly, in a way, in a weird way, it kind of makes sense because it's very political, right?
Yeah.
Like a Captain America movie being about like different countries having like political conflicts about something makes sense.
Yes.
I can't imagine that fucking mattering in Hawkeye,
No.
right? It's
Correct.
not gonna fucking matter in Deadpool.
Yeah. Or
The
Batman.
Guardians, what the fuck do they care? So like, when else are you going to address this?
Yeah. This is a right decision on their part.
Right? It unfortunately it does like feel weird because it happens so far down the line.
Right.
But I just can't imagine this being addressed in anything other than this at, like early on, right?
Yeah.
But I would have liked to have someone at least like in maybe a previous project mention like, yeah, when this thing came out of the earth, like shit shook and people died.
Yeah.
That cannot feel good having this thing cracking open like the crust of the earth.
Well, it's kind of like it's kind of like the aftermath of Avengers 2 or even Avengers 1,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like they dropped the big city and like people, right, in Age of Ultron, then you have people kind of immediately talking about how that was right, how that was a problem. Or like the battle for New York in Avengers 1 is automatically like, leaving alien tech that people have to deal with or like characters
Mm-hmm.
having PTSD. Right. So yes, it would have been nice to see other people at least tangentially.
Yeah, like even if you're not talking about like the main thing, having some like off mention about like maybe like some of the side effects of it, right?
Right.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I also think that we kind of touched on this a little bit. How this movie is weirdly it's weirdly political and apolitical at the same time,
Yeah.
right? Because you have hints of like Black Lives Matter, and like having a Black Captain America, having Isaiah Bradley, that is a thing, and then you also have, for some reason, the introduction of Sabra, but
Mm,
also not Sabra at the same time.
yeah. I think like we have a more docile Sam Bradley or Isaiah Bradley, excuse me,
Yeah,
in this movie. Like the only action he takes is him basically getting Winter Soldiered, right?
yeah.
And at the end, he's like, "I'm in jail. I'm gonna behave because I don't want to get thrown in the worst hole."
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm gonna buy the lady who like helped put me in jail. I'm gonna buy her
I'm gonna try to bang her.
courtside tickets to the game.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Like it's a movie that you would expect it to make a sort of statement,
Right.
but at the end of the movie, it just does not want to insult anyone.
Do you think that's a product of reshoots, or at least
Oh, 1000%.
a more recent eye?
Yeah.
Because like I forget how much we talked about it on this pod, but like in this recent election, I think for better or worse, I think wokeness kind of took the L.
Yeah.
Like yeah,
No, and I really do believe that is like culprit number one. Like, that is the reason people, and by people I mean Disney, started to see the writing on the wall that, like, people are taking the wrong lessons. People are like, oh, this movie did not do good because of woke.
Yeah.
No, the movie did not do good because the movie they were putting out was not good.
Correct.
Right? It just happened that people were mad, like the big vocal people were upset because something happened. There were two women, or there were two guys, or there was a black woman, or something. And instead of them actually going, no, the people are upset because, like, we didn't advertise our movie correctly. People did not like it because it was weirdly paced. I think a big example that I can think of is Strange World, I think it's called. It was an animated movie. It came out like 2 years ago. Jabuki White. You know who I'm talking about?
I have zero idea about this.
He's a young African American comedian. He did a little bit of work with The Daily Show. He was the main character. And this movie came out, and the movie itself is not bad. It's just Disney didn't fucking advertise it.
Yeah.
It came and went, and the movie made no money because people didn't even fucking know it was coming out. There were no commercials.
What's the movie called again?
Strange Worlds, I think.
Okay. Now that seems vaguely familiar.
Yeah.
Weirdly shaped things, right?
Yeah, it's like, yeah. So anyway, so the movie comes out, nobody goes fucking see it, and people are like, well, this movie did bad because the main character's gay. And we're like, no, this movie did bad because nobody fucking knew it was coming out.
Yeah.
And again, and then Disney and the executives take the wrong lesson and go, oh, the movie didn't do good. Not because we didn't put any money into, like, advertising, because of woke. And I think this is a problem that we see here in Captain America, where they're like, well, we don't want to piss anyone off. Everybody's already polarized. Let's take off any sort of stance that Sam would take on A, B, C, or D.
Yes.
Right? And then you end up having a kind of neutered political thriller.
Yeah, which, if you're gonna neuter any type of movie, political thriller
is not the one you do. I mean, the fact that they didn't even want to call the movie the original title is already, like, because it was supposed to be called New World Order.
Yeah.
And people were like, well, that sounds a little too like woke liberal or whatever.
Which is funny because that's actually a wrestling term.
It is.
But then B, also, that's actually like what the Alex Jones community called, like, the deep state before the term deep state.
Yeah.
They're trying to establish the new world order. So it's not even a lefty term.
Not necessarily, no, but like they see it as like a boogeyman, like, oh, it's a new world order. They're coming to take our stuff. They're the ones plotting everything in the background.
I see.
Yeah. So, like, yeah, you end up with these weird, like, issues. Like, I mean, okay, did you know that one of the issues that people have with this movie, and this is a huge issue that I saw, like, at least in a very, very small amount of time, like 15 different posts on Reddit.
It's a lot of posts.
Like, in the same day. So, like, in the same day I went to Reddit, and this conversation was happening on, like, 15 different things. Yeah. They were upset, not that, like, the soldiers were getting beat up, but that they were getting beat up by this little woman.
That they've complained about this before.
But then you're like, hey, first of all, it's a fucking comic book movie.
There's also the movie where Harrison Ford turns into
And I'm like, of all the things to be upset about in this movie,
like, soldiers at this point are like,
they're fodder.
They're flies in the MCU.
She's a Black Widow.
Yeah, exactly.
Which also, what a weird thing for her to be a Black Widow from Israel, but then also, like, your head of security.
Yeah, it's actually kind of weird to, like, see this movie and then Daredevil back to back, because both the characters of Fisk and Ross in these two pieces of media are so far taking the stance of, like, I'm gonna calm things down a little bit. But in this case, calm things down means hire the widow. I don't know, but yes,
it's I don't know.
To complain about,
for sure. Another thing that this movie kind of, I think, could benefit from, I almost feel like you could remove You could remove the Stearns character entirely from this movie.
I agree. I think this movie
Um,
could benefit from some paring down.
yeah, I do think that Stearns, like that whole side plot, was completely added in reshoots. I feel
Yeah.
because the end conflict at the Celestial Island feels pretty third acty.
Yes.
Like I'm not saying like it would be like a bombastic third act. It would still feel maybe a little lackluster because you're like, ah,
It's kind of like the Black Panther 2.
yeah, kinda.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kinda. I think you could have spruced it up and then had it be a bit more bombastic. I think it works really well as an act two
Right.
type of fight. But I think you can kind of see where the reshoots came in and what was added for the service of, hey, we want Big Hulk.
Well, so here, what do you think is of all of the story bits or elements of this movie, what do you think is the most interesting bit?
What do you mean?
And we may have different answers. So I guess let me give my answer first.
Yeah.
Of all like the big talking points in this movie, like after it, to me the most interesting thing is that Sam is asked to bring the Avengers back.
Mm-hmm.
And for multiple reasons, I think that's interesting to the greater overall story of the MCU. But I don't feel like this movie was fully about
That. Yeah.
Like the question of why is it time to bring the Avengers back, and why specifically is this Captain America? Why is he the one who should be bringing the Avengers back?
And that's kind of the problem, right? You brought this up. We don't feel like we have a main character yet.
Yep.
So the person who brings the Avengers together should feel like the main character, right?
Correct.
And the fact that Sam doesn't feel like the main character, we're like, well, then why the fuck? Why the fuck are you in charge here?
It's no real fault of his own.
No,
I think it's just but that goes back to cutting off the Sterner fat, because that's his name, right?
Stearns.
Stearns, excuse me.
Close.
Confusing with the Friends X. Cutting off that fat, I just feel like would help accentuate that point more. Because there's a million ways you can make him earn that, like earn the mantle of bringing back the Avengers.
Yeah.
Right? But like it's just a lot of bouncing around between.
I almost feel like the whole plot point of bringing the Avengers together,
Mm-hmm.
I think that should have come at the end.
Yes.
I think you could still have it be not necessarily like an order, but like, like a suggestion or a directive from Ross in jail, saying like, hey, listen, like, I fucked up. I realized that I fucked up with the Accords. Yeah. You proved that like not only are you a competent fighter, but B, like you have good heart like Steve. You should bring back the Avengers. And honestly, I think that would be a good post-credit scene.
Much cleaner movie. Because even the post-credit scene,
it's ass.
They're coming. I'm like, first of all, why are we hearing this from you? And shit, like we all know.
Yeah, like we've had 3 full ass years of multiverse shit, and now you're telling me
it's different than Thanos saying, "Now I got to do it myself." Because in that case, like,
no, this is like
if you got off the street and I was like, "Hey, I've been watching some TV."
You know what this feels like? This feels like, let's say we had gotten Avengers 1, we had Thor: The Dark World where they introduced the ether. They've already had the Time Stone show up, and then you have a post-credit scene at the end of Civil War, and it's the other talking to Thanos, and he's like, "These Avengers, they're tough," and then Thanos turns around and just smiles at the camera. It would be like taking that post-credit scene from Avengers 1 and putting it right after Civil War. Makes no sense. You're like, yeah, we know.
Yeah. Oh.
I don't know. It's a weird choice. And again, I feel like removing that scene from like that White House scene where he's like, hey, bring the Avengers back. Because you're like, first of all, what changed your mind? He never specifies. And then B, I think that having experienced Sam, his character arc, having him like get that actual confidence like
Yeah.
facing his first real like not Avengers, but like his first like hero level threat,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think would be enough for then you to feel like, yeah, he should be in contender for like main character status right now.
And focus even more on the issue of the serum because it's touched on just a little bit in this film.
Mm-hmm.
I'm team he should take the serum, but like I feel like now that as we're talking about this, I feel like those threads just make so much sense together.
So one of the things that I do kind of wish, and again, this feels very expository,
Yeah.
because if you think about it, the point of in the movie where he talks about, ah, man, I should have taken the serum,
Yeah.
is when he's having the fight, or sorry, after he had the fight at Celestial Island.
Yeah. Over halfway through the movie.
Yes, but sure, that's not my point though. My point is, let's pretend Steve Rogers is here.
Yeah.
What the fuck is Steve Rogers gonna do?
Yeah.
What could he have done? He can hold a helicopter
Yeah.
and with one hand and hold on to the railing with the other. But I'm sorry, he's not gonna go up there and fly around with wings and beat the shit out of two fighter jets.
Exactly.
So like I think it should have been brought up by Bucky, where he's like, even if Steve have had, or sorry, even if Steve was here,
Yeah.
what could he have done?
Yeah.
He's like, you bring your own set of skills, even without the serum, right?
Bada bing. Yeah.
Bada bing. Because like I'm watching this movie and I'm like, one of the things, I don't know if you watched the video from Screen Rant where they were talking about like, should he have taken the syrup? Should he not? The syrup, the serum. It's just some pancakes. One of the things that they were talking about is like, does it matter as far as like strength wise if Steve doesn't take the serum? Because Steve's never had a fight with Hulk, and you've had Thor get into a fight with Hulk. My understanding, my assumption is that Steve is not as strong as Thor. He would have gotten his ass rocked by Hulk.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
it in the movie they make the point that like it's Sam's ability to like empathize with Ross, who, whether we agree or disagree on the choice of having this be like a genuinely piece of shit character,
Yeah.
who like, oh, maybe he is trying to be a good guy, right? He does believe that there is that change, and he does want to talk him down. That right there is his like, that's what he brings to the table, right? Whether he has the serum or not, I don't think is necessarily relevant.
Yeah.
Because like his suit is already strong, so he doesn't need the serum to be a good Captain America. It's just the strength, which is he's already getting from somewhere else.
Yes.
Right. Yes. So I don't know. I don't necessarily think that that's like a huge issue that he doesn't have the serum. I just kind of wish they had emphasized the reasons why he doesn't need it.
Yeah. Tighter, neater movie.
In a tighter, neater movie. I do think that the final confrontation he does have with Red Hulk
is cool.
It's cool. I'm genuinely surprised by the amount of people that I both talked to and saw talk about this movie, where they were like, "Wait, what do you mean Red Hulk is not in the whole movie?" And I'm like, first of all, what the fuck do you expect, man?
Yeah,
like,
because how many times, like, especially if it's the character of the president, like, how many times can you? Like...
Yeah, I do think it's a weird choice to have that spoiled early, because the movie feels like it wants you to think this is like a big reveal.
Right.
Like we have these little drops of like, oh, he's taking a pill. Oh, he's getting angry. Oh, his temper's getting out of control.
Oh, his calves are swelling.
His calves, he looks like he's been walking.
Too much salt.
Right? So like I feel like it does take the wind out from the sails a little bit. Yeah. When you know what's coming. You know what Stern's endgame is before even like the characters know. So like it feels like that tension is not there.
Yeah.
So that's one of my like chief complaints. I think still visually and like, you know, as far as like an action set piece, I think it's really cool looking. It's really cathartic to just see someone just beat the shit out of a bad president.
Yeah, it is. I think that's the other with like this Trump 2.0. That's where this movie also feels like it's in an alternate timeline.
Yeah, it's in a bit of a bind.
A president who can reflect.
Right? A president who goes, "Oh man, I kind of fucked up. Send me to
Yeah,
jail."
yeah. So like,
It was Biden. Biden took the serum.
yeah, that's why it's fantasy,
Yeah,
man.
man. So with all that aside, I do want to like stress like yes, I do have issues with this movie. I think I'm being a lot more negative as far as like what I'm saying, but I still had a good time. Like I saw it twice, once with Katie, once with you. I had a good
Oddly,
time both
both
times.
times. Oddly enough, I wonder if like if you revisit this movie in like 4 years and you're like, ah, it wasn't that bad.
No,
Yeah,
I do think kind of like you said, like this is the last bit of goodwill. Not necessarily that I have for this movie or for this franchise necessarily, but I think this is where I'm like, if they haven't course corrected yet,
yeah,
right after this movie, which is like we said, this is a remnant of the old regime, right?
right.
Of the old new regime. If this is the worst it's supposed to get, because apparently after this they bunkered down. They said we're gonna make some changes. I think this was like right during the strikes.
Yeah,
They reshot a bunch of shit. They fixed what they could. Obviously, if the core was not good, the reshoots are only going to do so much.
right.
So if this is as bad as it's supposed to get, then I'm
You
kind
think
of
it's good?
hopeful. I have a
Is there buzz on Thunderbolts yet?
oh, apparently as far as testing goes, it's like the best testing movie in years.
Okay, that's good.
And I mean, if you watch the trailers, like if you watch the trailer for this and you watch the trailer for Thunderbolts, like yes, you're like, oh, this looks interesting, but you're like, something still feels a bit amiss.
Right.
Whereas in Thunderbolts, I think it has a very, very good idea of what it wants to be.
Yeah, more heart.
More heart, I think that comes through a lot more in like the advertising that we've seen so far.
Yeah,
Whereas in this movie, it still feel it when you watched any of the trailers, like the original one, the like ones right before release, it always did feel to me like it's trying to hide something,
ooh,
and it wasn't like a hiding a reveal. It just felt like we're trying to like patch a hole in this.
what a shame. Because I remember talking to you on the theaters, um, on the theaters, in the theater, about like what comes next after Secret Wars is done. And you're like, same thing in the comics where they like reboot, they kind of reboot the system and they consolidate.
Mm-hmm.
And I do feel, even though I think we're more positive on the multiverse saga, I do feel like it will be kind of a shame if all this is said and done, and the ultimate goal was just like, you.
I mean, it's not drooping like and like just throw everything and just go with everything. I think it's gonna be like I do think that Anthony Mackie is going to continue being Captain America post Secret War. I think if they're smart,
Yeah,
I think they will like give the Wolverine mantle to Daphne
somebody
Keene.
else.
No, I think they'll give it to Daphne Keene.
Oh, the girl.
Why not? Like you already have an established character. She could be a great Wolverine. If you wanna, and then later down the line, if you wanna bring in an actual Logan,
Yeah,
that's fine too. Like they don't have to go with like the usual. I could genuinely see them killing off Peter
yeah,
in Secret War, and then making our mainline MCU post Secret War Spider-Man and Miles Morales.
yeah.
Right? Like I think that's what's exciting. That's going to be then the definitive version of
I
something post.
kind of hope so because that's also, I think that's also like what was promised post Endgame. I mean, we're kind of get here earlier, but just like real life.
Well, I mean, kind of. I think once we started to see like hints of like when they started like because they started talking about like multiverses like almost immediately.
Yeah,
Like that was like, hey, this is what we did. This is what we are doing, and people were like, oh fuck, okay. it's going to be a mess, but we'll see what happens. And I think they open themselves up for that. And I think if they can at least stick the landing, I think they'll be in an interesting place. But as far as like this movie goes, I think I'm not, like I said, I'm not super high on it, but I do think that I like it enough that I still want Sam around.
I agree with you.
And I think, there is a world where he could be our main character, right? A grounded kind of self-insert, right? You're a little bit more relatable. He's more relatable to you than like a wizard, right? And speaking of that, who do you think of all the people that we've had so far, who could be our Avengers lineup?
Well, do we have a number that we're...
I would say, just like with the OG, I think there's 6 of them, right? Because you have Iron Man, Captain America, Hawkeye, Black Widow, Thor, and Hulk. So 6.
So let me just say that at the beginning of the saga, I thought Loki and Wanda would be at the head of it. Clearly, they're both well, different things, up to different things right now.
Yeah, they're a little busy.
So Cap, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
This is a hard one. I think Bruce stays.
Bruce, okay. So I got Thanos for Bruce. I got your Cap.
Yeah. Does Thor stay? I don't know.
Does Thor stay?
I think Thor and Bruce stay.
Okay.
Maybe they're killed off after. So Cap, Thor, and Bruce. Spidey for Iron Man.
Okay.
Can I get one more?
2 more.
Okay. Need a girl.
I need a
girl. Let's do wild card. Let's go Ant-Man Jr. What's her name? Cassie.
Oh,
Cassie.
Stature. Okay.
Yeah.
Cassie.
Yeah. That's a very wild.
That is a very wild card. I like it.
And then I think you need another. Let's go Kate Bishop.
Kate. Okay, so for me, I still think we keep Cap. Yeah. I think we keep. Honestly, as far as what I would keep, I don't think I would keep any of the originals. Yeah, I would do Spidey, because he's never. Yes, he's an official Avenger in the sense that, like Tony said, you're an Avenger. Right. But as far as like your core OG lineup, like he was never that. I would say I would also add Kate Bishop. Yeah. You need a sharpshooter. I want Shang-Chi.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'd like to see Shang-Chi again too.
As far as a heavy, I want She-Hulk. Yeah. And I honestly, I also thought about bringing in Kate.
So here's my question: to what extent we haven't even mentioned Kamala?
No, but that's because I don't want her. I think she would be a really good like young Avengers. Young Avenger, yeah.
So here's then my question. My question is, to what extent is Disney willing to mix up TV and movie characters? I think that if this had gone as well as they initially wanted it to, I think they would have wanted a lot of cross-pollination back and forth between TV and movie. Mm-hmm. But now I don't know if they're willing to go there.
Yeah, I don't know. It's strange. I think
a name we didn't mention.
Which one?
Strange,
yeah. It's because I genuinely have no idea what he's up to.
Yeah, he's just got 3 eyes.
He's got 3 eyes. As far as I'm concerned, he's like off-world.
Is he? I don't know.
Remember at the end of the movie, she's like, "You fucked up. Follow me," and they jump into a hole.
I forgot that they jumped into the hole.
So I have no idea, man. I don't know. But anyway, yeah. I mean, well, this is coming up. They have a year.
Yeah.
Right. 2026 is Doomsday.
And no news on cast.
I mean, what the fuck do they need to announce? We know who all the heroes are.
Well, I mean, we don't know who's on set filming. Like,
no, because they haven't started yet. They're starting. Yeah. They're starting like in a month, I think. Like this spring, they're starting.
Damn.
Yeah. I think the plan is though they are supposed to be filming both back to back.
Okay.
So I think that's why they're kind of holding off a bit, so that way that once they start, they just go and don't stop.
I see.
So we'll see. All right, everybody. Well, with that out of the way, thank you all so much for listening to our lovely podcast. We will be back with more MCU stuff down the line. Hopefully, a Daredevil recap once the episodes are all out, which should be in 5 weeks.
I was gonna say, does this show have a lot of episodes?
9.
9. Okay.
They have 9 episodes. It's weird because like it's technically one season being split into 2.
I see.
So we have 9 episodes this year, 9 episodes next year. Which, as far as like TV stuff goes, I'm less upset about that than getting a season now and then season 2 in like 3 years.
I was gonna say getting a season 2 years in a row.
In a row, what a luxury! What a luxury! What is this? 2018? Fucking hell! All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to our show. We will be back very soon with an Oscar-nominated and Oscar-winning movie. Until next time, he has been Thano.
He has been Javier.
And this has been the Cine-Scoots Movie Show. Bye.
Bye.